Hey, what is up? My name is Rubidium. Today we are looking at productivity and productivity tips for more efficient, more sustainable, and better filmmaking. I'd wanted to make this video for a while. I'm really interested in how we as filmmakers, as screenwriters, as colorists and editors can work more efficiently, finish our day feeling less tired, and generally feel better about our work. I'm really obsessed with this topic. I'm always researching it. I'm trying out different ways of working. I'll probably do a longer kind of thing about this at some point. But today I just wanted to share a couple of quick tips that have really changed my working habits. The first one is Pomodoro. If you hadn't heard it, it's Italian for tomato. It's those little cooking timers that you can set to, 10 or 5 or 20 minutes, and they ring when they're done. They have given their name to a thing called the Pomodoro technique, which is a method of working and taking breaks throughout the day so that you don't get too tired. If you're like me, you get obsessed with things, you start working on a project or on an edit, you work until you're totally fried, and then it takes you a long time to kind of recharge and then go back in. I found that if I start with 10 and 12 and 15 minute segments with a 2-minute break and then go back into another segment and another 2-minute break, if it's really taxing, or I can build up to 20 or 30 minute segments with like a 5-minute break, and I'm much more productive than if I just work straight through. There's a great book about it called the Pomodoro technique. There are a bunch of iPhone apps and websites even where you can set your working time and pause time, and it'll track it for you. There's even ones where you can sort of eliminate distractions for that time that you're working, so you're not going to get an email, you're not going to get a call. It's going to pull you away from what you're doing. I don't use it all the time. I should, but when I do use it, usually on multi-day edits, I'm much more efficient and I come away feeling much fresher at the end of the day. Second thing I wanted to talk about is posture and working spaces. I'm starting to discover that so much of what we think of as work fatigue is actually physical fatigue. We have bad posture or we have poor use of ourselves at our desks, and we end up just getting tired shoulders and tired back and a tired neck from, craning our head forward to look at the computer. That if we have better sitting habits, we actually can work creatively much longer. I recently invested in the Aeron chair, which is great. It's not a panacea by any stretch of the imagination. You still need to constantly remind yourself to, not crane your neck forward towards the screen, to have the screen at the right level, which is usually the top of the screen at your eye level. Look after yourself first and be mindful of your own sort of posture and working conditions before you disappear into the thing that you're working on. Another thing I like doing is standing up working. I found this thing actually through Instagram called Fluid Stance, which is a balance board, the kind of thing that you would use to kind of train your stance or your knees on a snowboard, but it's a lot less challenging, those traditional balance boards, so that you can stand on it and just kind of keep your muscles active while you work standing up. I really like, writing emails like this, or just sort of doing research like this, so I don't end up slumped on the couch or slumped on my office chair when I'm not doing something that's engaging. For almost 20 years now, is use a tablet instead of a mouse. A mouse creates such wrist strain by keeping your hand tense the entire time. Wacom tablets are really great. I used one for a long time. My Wacom recently broke and I didn't really want to spend another couple $100 on a new version. So I found this Chinese company called Oogie that makes $50 tablets, for the price of less than the price of a mouse. You can have multiple pressure sensitivity. They now make them in 16:9, the same ratio as the screens. They have these cool hot buttons on the side that you can use to zoom in or out or change brush size. The small disadvantage of these cheaper tablets is that Wacom owns a lot of the patents for tablets and tablet computers. So you actually have to charge the pen of these separately. They don't take power, they're not a passive pen. So the first couple of times this happened, the motion of the mouse was really jerky, and I figured my computer was having trouble, so I spent way too long trying to find out what was overtaxing the computer, whereas actually it was the pen running out of power. But for $50, they're definitely worth trying out. They can change your whole workflow, and really, if you have wrist issues, it's a much more natural movement to control your computer. Golden hours are another great thing to take advantage of, and I'm not talking about the 20 minutes before sunset. Everyone has a time which they're optimally productive. For me, it's after I've had breakfast to when I have coffee at like 11 o'clock. So between like 8 and 11, that's definitely my most creative, most productive time of the day. And I make sure that I use that time to do the most important thing that's in front of me, whether it's work on a script or make calls to move a project forward or record one of these videos. But for me, I know that if I get 2 or 3 big things done in that time, then I've built myself some momentum that will carry me right through the day, and I feel like I've achieved something early on. The last productivity tip I wanted to share is end on a high. Don't work yourself into a gutter and then try and gain momentum when you come back to the task the next day or the next week. Finish at a place where the next step is obvious. If you're working on an edit, edit to the place where the next step's obvious. You'll have a much easier time regaining momentum and getting to work if you do it like this. This is something Hemingway said. He would always write to a place where he knew what he was going to write next, but he wouldn't write it, so that when he sat down the next day, he really had stuff to go on with, and he didn't sit there and stare at the paper and wonder what to do. There were a couple of productivity tips that have really helped me. Hope people out there can make use of them. Thank you very much for watching. Leave your questions in the comments, and I will see you next time.